Next on the news, a special education setback sees kids barely making the grade.
Hundreds of students in the Diocese of Brooklyn who need special education services aren't getting them because of these letters of intent that were handed in past the June 1st deadline. I'm Jessica Easthope with what the diocese, the DOE, and the students themselves are saying about it.
Thanksgiving came early in Greenpoint, but this feast is giving more than gratitude. It's helping Brooklyn's poor. Plus, a Catholic author takes students on a tour through the solar system. We get a sneak peek of her latest book as she previews it for some kids. I'm Christine Persichetti. Curse News starts right now. The simple sounds of a classroom at work, but as these fifth graders sail through this assignment, 10-year-old Joseph Salam is silently struggling. Joseph and hundreds of other students in Diocese of Brooklyn elementary and high schools have yet to receive special education services they qualify for this school year. That's because they didn't submit a form on time stating they need them. And now New York City Public Schools, which provides those services, says legally their hands are tied. Current News' Jessica Easthope joins us now with how this special education setback has affected these kids. Hi, Jess.
Hi, Christine. These students are essentially being locked out of the academic help they need in order to thrive in class. This missed deadline and the legal barriers surrounding it have caused heartache for students and their families. Services are delayed and progress has come to a screeching halt.
That was your 100 because you're doing good and you study, and that's
Susan Salam and her son Joseph hope this test will motivate him to do well.
We look at this every single day.
But this year, in fifth grade, all the motivation in the world hasn't changed his reality.
School is hard. ELA is hard. I'm feeling science.
Joseph and 250 other students across Diocese of Brooklyn elementary and high schools aren't receiving the special education services they require. It's because of this. A letter of intent signed and handed in after the June 1st deadline. It's part of the state's legal process, allowing private and parochial school students to get access to support provided by the public school system.
I think that deadlines are extremely important and that, parents really need to respect them. However, right now, there is a serious issue.
Since he doesn't have his services in place.
Luisa Manzo, Associate Superintendent of Diocese of Brooklyn Schools, says this school year the deadline was strictly enforced. And though some families didn't meet it, there's a problem that needs to be solved.
Whether it's OT, whether it's speech, whether it's a SETS provider, without that support, they're kind of taking a step back.
At St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Academy in Astoria, where Joseph goes to school, Special Education Teacher Support Services, or SETS provider Sabrina Sirabisi, says she has a handful of students who she's legally not allowed to interact with.
Without that form, I am not able to provide them with any of their services. You can basically see desperation in their eyes.
I just think I need the services because I'm struggling.
It impacts so much more.
Principal Liz Riley says the consequences of this will have lasting impacts.
Teacher moves forward. The divide between the students who can and the students who need help just grows.
New York City Public Schools says they're committed to serving every child who needs it. But while Joseph waits, the goal of staying on track is slipping away.
This is damage that's going to be irreversible. Self-esteem suffers, their well-being suffers.
He did great last year. So why this year my son is getting 50s and 40s and failing all his classes?
We spent 3 hours on science and I got a bad grade. We spent hours on studying and I still get a bad grade.
Diocese of Brooklyn Superintendent Deacon Kevin McCormick says he understands the legal obligations of the New York City public school system, but allowing bureaucratic red tape to hold up this kind of service is unacceptable.
We got to stop hiding behind rules and we got to start dealing with human beings. That's what's essential here. How are we going to take care of kids that are in need? That's what we have to do now.
Diocese of Brooklyn schools officials are continuing to push for these services. We reached out to New York City public schools, and as of right now, there is no date for these students to receive services again. They maintain their legal obligation is first, Christine, to the families who had their paperwork in on time.
Oh, Jess, it is so heartbreaking to see him crying. I know his mom is in pain too. So what can parents do now?
Right, so of course students are being offered extra help by their teachers, but families can and have paid to seek outside help from private tutors. And that being said, the diocese is not pointing fingers at parents who miss this deadline. They understand families, as you well know, can sometimes be inundated with emails and things can get lost in the mix. And so, that being said, however, this deadline is part of state law. So legally, these kids cannot get these services until this paperwork is sorted out.
So what are the lasting impacts here?
Right, you saw Joseph, you saw his mom. The reality is that kids won't be able to meet the requirements they need to succeed in class and in school. And you have to understand that in order to qualify for these services to begin with, these kids have already been deemed to be one or more grade levels below where they should be. So this isn't extra, this is how kids learn.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Jess. Hopefully it'll all be worked out soon.
Yes, definitely.
All right, Thanksgiving is next week, but Friendsgiving already happened in Greenpoint. The Shalom Catholic community hosted the annual event on Banker Street in honor of the World Day of the Poor. Volunteers served 350 warm meals to their friends in need, gave away around 1,000 clothing items, and supplied hygiene kits to anyone who needed them. Volunteers also organized 4 mission trips with vans of pre-packed goods to deliver to those who couldn't attend the event. Over at the Vatican, a new interactive exhibit will offer a new view of St. Peter's Basilica. The digital twin of the Basilica is a partnership between the Vatican and Microsoft using AI-coordinated drones. They took 400,000 pictures of the massive structure, allowing the architecture to be reproduced down to the millimeter. Organizers say the point of the project, which is called Peter is Here, is to highlight the uniqueness of the Basilica. Not far from St. Peter's, a sight many Catholics probably never expected to see, some cardinals tried out virtual reality headsets. The princes of the Catholic Church donned the gear as part of an immersive art exhibit hosted at Taiwan's embassy to the Holy See. The installation, called Interconnected Hearts, showcases art created by 3 Taiwanese artists made out of 3D scanning, virtual reality, and other AI technologies. The embassy-sponsored exhibit is an official 2025 Jubilee cultural event and will be open until February of 2025. And while pilgrims are in Rome for the Jubilee, they might want to swing by Paris to see Notre Dame. The iconic cathedral is about 2 weeks away from reopening to the public, and now a famous medieval statue of Mary has made its triumphant return to the church. This nearly 6-foot-tall stone sculpture known as the Virgin of Paris was processed back to Notre Dame last Friday. It miraculously survived the fire 5 years ago and has been in a church near the Louvre ever since, where it became a symbol of resilience amid destruction for Catholics. The cathedral is scheduled to reopen on December 8th. Finally tonight, kids at St. Ephrem Catholic Academy took a trip to outer space with a visit from a Catholic author.
And marveled in delight at the bright twinkling stars.
Maryann McMahon read her book Starkey Star Soars Through the Solar System at the Dyker Heights school on Tuesday. The St. Teresa parishioner was a teacher in the diocese for 40 years, and now in retirement, she devotes her time to writing children's books. This latest story is about Starkey Star, a toy that takes a trip to the solar system where he consoles Pluto, which was downgraded to a dwarf planet. Students from pre-K through 3rd grade got to hear the story from Maryann herself, learning a little bit about the planets, but also an important life lesson.
People can help each other, to be kind and to, just to help each other to feel better each and every day.
It was like how the planets were different from the others. I learned to help one another and to be really kind to one another.
Maryann says she loves returning to the classroom and interacting with the students. Now you can find her book, again called Starkey Star Soars Through the Solar System, along with Maryann's 7 other children's books on Amazon. That is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.